is Abina Johnson, and this is Focus on Liberia. Hit it! From Kemau to Cape Palm, mountain back to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Pocondre, to educate, elevate, and promote. Talk about home affairs, hey, in diaspora, current affairs, hey, reliable information, history, talking about culture, hey, politics, education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another edition of Tough Talking Thursday on Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jai, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In tonight's edition of Tough Talking Thursday, we're going to be talking tough on some current issues, starting with Lucas has been found not guilty. Who's Lucas? We're going to talk about that. Also, who leaked former President Weah's assets from the LACC? The CPP is dissolved. What next for Mr. Alexander Cummings and the ANC? And last but not the least, there have been deaths in the hands of the government of Liberia. What's going on? Is the current government to blame? We want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. Let me welcome Attorney Konyene Wanda Freeman. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Let me also welcome Mr. Francis Jabata, the word of mouth. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be here.
And Mr. Thomas B. Kane is our public financial management practitioner. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you, Dennis. Great to be here. Hello to all our listeners.
We want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. If it is Thursday, it's time to talk tough, and there is no room for Tabata. We have two more panelists who will be joining us. But let's start by going around the room. I mean, you guys look changed. You look like the eminent guys that went to NASCAR. What's going on?
Eminent citizens.
You guys are all eminent people.
Yeah.
Yeah, Anthony Freeman got a letter from the president.
Yes, we want to welcome, or if you have not done so already, please share the show. We'll be welcoming two more panelists that will be joining us. But gentlemen, there are a lot of trending issues, but let's start with Lucas, who was set free, who was found not guilty by the court. It can be recalled that Lucas was accused of trying to kill his girlfriend, and he was sent to jail. But the court found him not guilty. What they say, he's an American missionary in Liberia. According to the story, he's married, but he was having his girlfriend. He actually married his girlfriend in Liberia, or engaged. And there was some news that he tried to kill her by slitting her throat. That case went to court. The judge found Lucas not guilty, citing that there was not enough evidence. In fact, he said the statement that was initially obtained by eyewitnesses contradicted what they said in court. So based on that, he said there's no enough evidence to find Mr. Lucas guilty. Let's start with our attorney. Attorney, you follow the case. Who was it? And people are, there's a lot of reaction. So I want you to break down for us the judge, the case, and have you been following?
Okay. I follow the case in the press generally. It would be good, like, if I had the full transcript, because that way you can actually break down the legal proceedings. But notwithstanding, from the basic fragments I've managed to pull through the press, the first thing is that it was a bench trial. So by bench trial, what we mean is that everything was in the hand of the judge. Normally, the defendant is entitled to the jury trial, but the defendant has to request that. However, I'm kind of disappointed because it looks like it was a clear-cut case. It reminds me of what happened in the drug bust case with the $100 million worth of cocaine. Our judiciary and our legal system have the propensity to disappoint at times, and sometimes eventually they come up with this vague expression that there was not sufficient evidence. If somebody doesn't want to convict, no evidence will ever be sufficient, So, but I am not too impressed with the case. I feel like either way, sometimes our justice system is troubled by the fact that jurors sometimes, take grab some time to sway the case. And sometimes if you put the case in the hand of a single judge, sometimes you still don't get justice. I feel the lady deserve better, but I'm not impressed with the ruling.
Right. And why was this bench trial? Couldn't the prosecutor also request for a jury, or it's only the defendant?
Yeah, that right is allowed to the defense. But then if you know that there's going to be a bench trial, and if you have a clear idea as to who is presiding, you might have to adjust your strategy, in terms of how you go about it, So I'm also not very impressed with the judge who presided over that case. I have multiple interactions with him. He doesn't come across as a very one of the, what should I say, revered judges. Not at all. He's probably far from it. But it's a system problem with the Liberian judiciary and with the justice system. And if we don't solve the system issue in the country as a whole, our justice system will continue to deliver these lopsided judgments that people will be far from satisfied. I also think the criminal trial notwithstanding, she was injured. He played a part in it, I want to believe. And I believe that she can also pursue him in a civil litigation, and that is possible. If you remember the celebrated American trial with O.J. Simpson, he was found not guilty of murder, but he was found civilly liable. I think that is possible in this case with this lady and then the Lucas man. So her lawyers might want to consider that, because I feel like he was present, he was around, he was in the vicinity, and so much of his presence was there that it's almost impossible for him to get off in a civil trial.
Thank you. Mr. Tabata, there's a mixed reaction on this case. People are saying, and it's always being judged in the public. And you could understand that there is a lot of mistrust in our justice system. And so even sometimes if you have a fair hearing, people still find problems. So what's your take of what we think happened? People are saying, hey, that man might have bribed or done something. What you make of that?
I mean, yes, we know in Liberia, the code of public opinion, not just in Liberia, every part of the world, the code of public opinion has the loudest voice. Then in the end, everybody is disappointed. One side will be disappointed based on the ruling that comes out, because what we know in the public is not always what presented in court. So it's always disappointing to somebody. But if we just go based on what we know, from the beginning of this entire issue, Lucas being arrested by a biker who took him to the police station, allegedly took him to the police station, claimed to have fought him off of Jessica, and he protected Lucas from other folks that were trying to beat on him, took him to the police station. Then Lucas' statement at the police station, he's explaining that a bike, he was fixing the tire and a bike hit her. I mean, his story has a lot of holes in it. It seems like he crafted that story very well, because if a bike hits you, first of all, if a car even hits you, a car is much bigger and more dangerous than a bike. Why? How come she sustained that kind of injury to her neck?
Right.
You see, so these are some of the things that the public is looking at to say, what evidence does the court need or the judge need to at least charge this guy with something like manslaughter or something? And according to what out there, she was pregnant also, and he injected her with something that may have caused her to have an abortion or something. So that's also murder if that happens. But there will all be speculations, and now today there's a post on Facebook of one of the journalists that was in the court. He was in the court. He said all 9 witnesses contradicted their written statement that were presented to the police. So I mean, now we don't know what to believe. And he also commented that Jessica testified that she even told the guys to leave Lucas. That's her husband. He's her husband. You know, so, and then if you look at Jessica's statement when she was in the hospital and her reaction at the end of the court, I found that hard to believe. But like the attorney said, our justice system is so messed up in that country. It's hard to just believe what comes out of there to say is normal, because there's also recordings out there where they are discussing. I don't know if it's the state or the defendant attorneys discussing payment settlement of $10,000, or let's just say is this crime and the highest is $10,000. Let's give it to her to take care of her daughter. So there was just a whole lot of red flags around this case before even the judge's ruling came out. So I mean, it's disappointing, and it's for us to just sit in a country. He brought the $100 million drug bust during the past administration. So every time we have a bench trial, we see what happens. I mean, we can hardly trust jury trial, but then bench trial is just in the hands of the judge. So we can't even trust our judges. We can't. So what should Liberia or Liberians do? What should they do? Just stay in your house and lock yourself up and don't come outside? Because if something happens, who's there for you? So it's disappointing. I don't even know what to say. It's disappointing.
And Francis, you talk about the red flags. Do you see the red flags on both sides? Like the story of the lady, the witnesses, the mother. It's like really it's just hard to determine what the truth is. Do you see that?
Oh, yes, because sometimes, emotions come into play, and we tend to always want to side with the victim or the alleged victim here. But we will always go with what we have heard or what we see. We see the visible injuries to Jessica. She couldn't have inflicted those injuries to herself. And a motorbike couldn't have inflicted the injury sustained to her neck. A motorbike hitting her or running her over would not cause such injury. And then look at the story. It's like those motorbike guys that ran her over decide to just pin everything on him and say, okay, we ran Jessica over. Now let's pin it on this white guy and say we saw him slicing her throat. That's just, that's out of this world. So, then with the journalist who said he was in court during the testimony of the 9 witnesses who contradicted their own testimony, first they acknowledged the written testimony from the police presented, and then they contradicted themselves on the stand, including allegedly he said Jessica also contradicted herself on the stand. I found out how to believe. So that's the problem we have here now.
Mr. Kane, every murder, and I'm not trying to kind of act like a lawyer here, but there is always motive ascribed to it. What would be the motive of Jim Lucas to kill Jessica? And secondly, what will, based on the story, and it's been a while now, based on the story, if you are in the process of cutting someone's neck, his throat, and that person is kind of helpless, I mean, how long does that take? You know, you could do that in a matter of seconds, even before the motorbike people come to rescue. Right? That's one side of the story. And secondly, with the kind of injury to the neck, what could possibly cause that if it is not someone like Jim Lucas whom she trusted?
Well, I think those questions are questions that the court will eventually answer if you go through such a trial. But I think my colleagues have already expressed the problem that we have in the country, because if he was going to be found guilty, for instance, then the next question was, of course, he planned to do this. Then what was the motive? Then I think it would have been easy, maybe either through the court process, to be able to identify what was his intent of actually trying to kill Jessica. Because like Francis said, this is something that started as a partnership. They go to supermarket, he's going to buy things for her and all of that. It's almost like they're actually in a relationship that was moving forward. And then we had the issue of the pregnancy. And the very recording he was talking about, I think it was on OKFM today. I also listened to a portion of it, that people came from, I think, either the Ministry of Health or some other hospital to really testify that the abortion did take place. So if they were in a relationship and eventually she got pregnant, so they had some intimacy. And then certainly they are going along the road and something happens to her and he says he was fixing the tire and all of that. These stories don't really match up, especially with we that have been following only from what is coming in the media. And I think this is the difficulty that we have, because for us non-lawyers who don't sit in the seat of the judge to take these decisions, we always just try to reason based on information that we get, and we try to connect these dots. Something happened to her and he was there, and then the motorbike guy came. His rescue was eventually just to avoid the issue of mob violence. And then the recording about the 10,000 was almost like there is guilt. But then eventually when it goes up and then the judge says that the person is free. So it becomes very difficult. So I cannot say for sure what was his motive and why he attempted to maybe kill this lady. And based on the charge, I mean, he wasn't charged with murder because it didn't take place, but he was charged with an attempt.
Right.
And this is where the real intent will come from. But if he's not even guilty for attempting, then how can we even show what his motive was? So I think it's just very difficult. And it goes back to the issue of trust in the judiciary. And my problem is this issue of the judiciary being independent. We don't want to interfere with what they do. So even after our civil war, I don't see a lot of focus in really building the capacity of the judiciary, because it's such that only Liberian lawyers can practice in Liberia. You can have a lot of interference in what they do. And if you even historically look at all of the capacity building initiatives that have gone to that country after the civil war, disproportionately have gone to the executive branch of government. A little bit of it has gone to the legislature. We have not really tried to build capacity in the judiciary to be able to get them to the level where they can adjudicate cases with speed, but with accuracy, so that we don't have this kind of situation where the public think that, okay, they see you physically doing things. So everybody believes that this guy is going to be guilty. And in the end, he's not guilty. How do we believe this?
Anthony Konyine, what the judge said, the lack of evidence, what could possibly be the evidence that will convict Jim Lucas besides, forensic?
Okay, but the first thing is, all evidence does not have to be direct. So I disagree with the judge. Okay? All evidence doesn't have to be direct. There are circumstantial evidence. And in that case, there's a lot of circumstantial evidence. The fact that Lucas was present, the fact that no other alternative theory was presented, and even the alternative theory that he presented that motorbike hit her could not contribute. I think the prosecution didn't do a good job, and I understand there were, reputable people there, but it would have required a medical expert, I believe, to come in and break down what was the possible cause of the injury to her neck.
Right.
I didn't hear about expert opinion in a case, but I think all the time we should do due diligence when we're doing these cases, because a lot relies on it. So we can't just that kind of case almost necessarily would have involved a medical expert to explain what kind of injury or what kind of, let's say, assault would have caused the injury to her neck, and also too, the judge has a lot of leverage. For example, if he thinks that a higher charge is not sufficient, he will step down the charge, so he has that leverage. But I realize if somebody is determined to set somebody free, and of course, if the benchmark is sufficient evidence or beyond all reasonable doubt, you just claim, especially with no jury, you can just claim that there is no sufficient evidence. But I feel like something went wrong with this case. I already explained what I think the prosecution may have lacked. I think using expert opinion would have helped. But I also think the judge could have, if he thinks that a higher charge was not necessary, but there are lower charge, maybe assault or so, But if you look at it, there's a lot of circumstantial evidence there to really convict Lucas. But then this is Liberia, because if the system is rotten, obviously you know that the legal system will also be equally rotten. And I want to differ with Thomas with respect to training. A good chunk of the training that goes on is combined with Justice Ministry and the Judiciary. I know of it because I did some training myself in the financial crimes area. And at all point in time, there were people from the Ministry of Justice and there were people from the Judiciary. So almost all the training that goes to Ministry of Justice, so it's not about training. It's a big problem with corruption in Liberia, with lack of patriotism, and all of that. And so if there's a problem in the country as a whole, it goes without saying that there will be a problem in the Judiciary, okay, and the Ministry of Justice. I think on the Ministry of Justice side, there was some competence issue there, from what I see. So what I can say is that for me, I feel that there was enough evidence, to come down with some kind of guilty verdict. But then if you realize what had been happening in the past with other, what we call clear and convincing evidence, if you see it, and some of these people still set free, you got to know that something is wrong in Liberia.
Yeah, and you can always never overtrain. So training will always be an issue. But Francis, I'm coming to you that in Liberia, you can't help but compare. When when President Weah came to power, they said, "Oh, this thing never happened early time." To what extent does this case, does the current government have anything to do with it, in your opinion?
I mean, yeah, because one, this is the case. This case is the Republic of Liberia versus Lucas Richards. That's the Republic of Liberia. It's not Jessica versus Lucas. The Justice Ministry represented her. The Liberian government represented Jessica. So that's one of the things issue too. When it comes to the ordinary Liberian, that I think there are two-tier justice systems in Liberia, for the have and the have not. You see, just common example. I'm a supporter of. I'm not a United Party, but I supported President Barker's election. But look at what's happening in the country with all these fires that's going on around the country. He hasn't spoken a word about it. But Speaker Fonati Kofa house got on burned down. It's like he was sleeping with his alarm clock set for the next morning to go and empathize with him. This is a man that legally has the money. He is a businessman, and with the ridiculous amount of money the legislatures are paid, he's capable of carrying a renovation the next day. So I'm not even going to put that there. But the president made a point of going to empathize with him. But the people in West Point, the houses burned down. The VOA and that kid
everywhere
broke me. He got burned the next day. They took him to the hospital the next day. He passed away. Over everywhere. He hasn't spoken a word to the Liberian people to say, I hear you. So even through his press secretary. But he set his alarm clock, 3 different alarms, to wake him up and go to Fonati Kofa house the next day. That is ridiculous. So this is what happened here. Because with this case, we look at the injury to her neck. As I learned, that picture was not even presented in court. I may be wrong, but also the government should have brought in experts to assess, even if she didn't request it or whatever, they should have brought in experts to assess that injury to her neck. But right now, let's assume that Lucas did not cause that injury. We all know it's not by injury. If somebody else did, then that person is still out there running loose. So they did nothing, and like they didn't even care. They just wanted this case to go away. That's what they wanted. And when the judge handed that down, they were done. They were done. It's pretty much no justice for the poor in that country.
Well, just a point. In a criminal trial, especially with the kind of system we have, the appeal is generally open to the defendant. So the state does not normally appeal when the judgment, especially in a criminal trial, the state doesn't normally appeal. So that's why the state has to put everything into it. And that's why I believe that the prosecution really didn't do a good job, because I can't imagine a case like that why there was no medical expert to testify to what is a potential cause of the injury to her neck, But, that's why it is water under the bridge now. So we just have to carry on and feast out for our country and hope it gets better.
So you think the Buckeye administration could have done something prior to the verdict?
Oh, yes. I mean, put your all into it. Like, Francis is saying, I mean, this is a terrible situation because, firstly, that girl is very young if you compare her age with the guy. So, firstly, it looks like taking advantage of her. I see it because he was some teacher in a Bible school and she was a student. And probably because of the poverty situation, the parents were in no position, to stop that kind of relationship, even though she knew that he was married, but she still agreed to marry him another time, So all of that.
We interviewed the mom on another platform that I'm usually on. We interviewed the mom twice, and she said, "Oh, how the country is, and we suffering, stuff like that." And I felt bad for her because that's the country how people find themselves.
Yeah. So the family was in a disadvantageous position, so they could not put much, because if it was somebody who was well-to-do and the government was slacking off in terms of the evidence collection and preparation of the trial, they will hire their own lawyer to, as we call it, associate with the state. So I took part in one of those cases with the one in Sunday where they beat the woman up. So I associated with the state, and we got a conviction in that case. There were several persons on trial. Okay, so if the person can afford it, but I was like being paid by an NGO to work on behalf of the lady who was murdered or stuff like that. So if the family doesn't have because sometimes the government lawyer can be slack. Yeah, I'm not trying to criticize them or anything, but sometimes they can be slack. Maybe because they have a lot of cases on their hands, whatever. So they don't put the level of due diligence that is necessary. That's why sometimes it's important for the family to hire a private lawyer who will work along with the state. So when the state is slacking off, or if the state is not doing some of the things they're supposed to do, he can start to raise the issue and make sure they get on track. But I really, really think that the Lucas alternative theory could not hold, that she was hit by a motorbike. So they will have come with full force, exposed the extent of the injury, describe what kind of instrument calls it and under what circumstances, and push for it. But it doesn't look like, especially from the medical expert point of view, they kind of went zoom in on that. They require eyewitness testimony, and sometimes eyewitness testimony of obviously sometimes it can have some. But what I know, not every contradiction warrants an acquittal. A contradiction has to go to the substantial component of the crime. So then the fact that two persons came and disagreed over some minor issue, that's sufficient to give somebody an acquittal, So I believe that if the judge really wanted to have a confession, there was evidence enough. But, all that is water under the bridge now.
Thank you. Thomas, same question about government either, having anything to do with it, because we always compare, this thing never happened before, or our government doesn't care.
I don't want to go to the point of comparing one government to the other. I think I want to talk about how the government of Liberia stands up for its citizens, because the responsibility of the state is to protect us as individual citizens.
Okay.
And in
does
case
that have to do with the person in power? Does it have to do with what Wakai wants, for instance?
The reason why I don't want to go to that is that since independence, we have hardly had a government that is really people-centered and people-focused.
Okay.
So comparing one with the other doesn't really do me any good.
Well, CEC was supposed to be that government, so to speak.
So my point is, in cases like these, there are a couple of things that the state should take interest in. One, for providing justice for your citizens, and for the lawyers and those who work in the judiciary, you often have this issue of indigence, right?
Yeah, indigence.
Indigence. Yeah, people who don't have resources, they are poor, they are defenseless. The state should be able to come in to defend them. So it is at that individual level to make sure that their rights are upheld. The other thing, again, the state should have interest in these kind of things is to make sure that people trust the judicial system. Because if something like this happened, where people in the community actually came up to say, okay, this guy was here when it happened, and you go through the process and the person is let free without any punishment. I saw some photos earlier late this evening. It was as if he was even leaving the country. So my thought was that, okay, let's just say this guy is not guilty. Let him leave the country, and then this will go away. And this is the culture in Liberia. This is not going to be discussed beyond this week. Next week, there's going to be somebody else. Either Kema is going to get married to somebody husband, and it becomes the issue, right? It's not discussed. But it does affect the individual. It does affect the trust that people have in your judiciary, and it has domino effect. Somebody else is going to do it tomorrow and say, because the other person was free, even if I do it, what is going to happen? So instead of comparing one government to the other, I think my point is that the Ministry of Justice should be able to take these things very seriously, regardless of the person that is involved. Whether it's a high-profile person, it's a low-profile person, it borders on the credibility of the state. It borders on building trust in your judicial system, which is important for many other issues. So I think if they did not pay attention to this, and this was a case between the government of Liberia and this person who was being taken to court, it really doesn't tell where that in cases where, at this level of action where the evidence is out there, for you to just lose it. This is not a complex corruption case where you have to trace all kind of or transactions from Liberia to Dubai and other places. This is somebody who was in a relationship with someone, and at a certain point in time, she got hurt and he was around. And even that, if you can win this case, what can the Ministry of Justice win?
Let me bring in Mr. J. Victor Nambwe, everywhere political analyst. Thank you for joining us. Mr. Nambwe, here's the case. The question Thomas is asking, if the Justice Ministry cannot win this, what else can you win?
Yeah, thank you, Dennis, and hello, guys. It's nice to be with you again. This case is very confusing to me. It seemed to me like an easy open and close case, and yet it's turning out to be a very complicated case. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm happy that attorney is here. First of all, this case. Why was this case? Why did this case not warrant an impaneled jury? I think an individual lawyer just individually deciding
The
a
judge.
case of this magnitude, I don't understand why. That's one concern. I understand also there are recordings of, I don't know if you've already covered this, but I understand there are
We did.
recordings in existence of this gentleman's lawyers trying to plea bargain or whatever it is. I don't know if that also doesn't constitute sufficient evidence. So I really don't know, Dennis. I'm left baffled how we allow this kind of thing to happen in our country. And also, Counselor, in a case like this, how much time does the accusing party have to take an appeal? Because I heard Thomas saying that he saw something that looks to him like this gentleman might be getting ready to leave town.
That's what happened in the 100 million drug case, right?
Right.
By the time they said not guilty, they were out.
They were out.
Right.
So it just leaves so many questions. I don't know if you've already addressed these, Counselor. How is it that a case like this was assigned to just,
the judge?
For that, you were not here, but I think we talked a bit on it.
Yeah, and you can be brief, just 30
the
seconds.
right to a jury trial is reserved for the defendant.
Okay.
So it's a defendant choice to say, I want a jury trial or I want a bench trial. And in such a high-profile case, high-stake case, there's a high chance sometimes the defendant decides to take their choice because talking to one man or working with one person is much easier than trying to work with 12 persons. But the other thing is in a criminal trial.
Please be brief.
Yeah, I just want to be quick. In a criminal trial, the prosecution is not at liberty to take appeal. Okay. It's only the defense that can take appeal. There are just very limited circumstances under which an appeal can be had in a criminal trial, but it's very, very limited. So for the most part, when the state comes to court, it has to come with all that it has because it's a one shot. You miss it and you miss. Yeah, so that's why the state should accumulate evidence and come to court because when you miss, you miss. Then just one last thing I want to say, I really, really believe that the lawyer should pursue Lucas on a civil matter. He took advantage of this girl. He injected her with and caused induced a pregnancy that there's always evidence to that. And he was present. He took her to the location. He was her husband. He was duty bound to protect her. So there's so many ways that I believe he can never get off from a civil trial. So I think they should pursue him civilly. And at least if they can't get him criminally, they should get him civilly.
Thank you. And Jessica and family, if you are listening, you just got free legal advice right here on Focus on Library. Well, that takes us to our next issue, which I call it depth in the hands of government. We saw that there was a protest in Kinjo and 2 Liberians got killed, others injured, property destroyed. So the government police, I would say, killed somebody. We also saw another death from those alleged power theft where someone was killed in the hands of government again, right? The people that government appointed to be able to punish and get people that are stealing electricity. They killed somebody. And then of late, there is death in police custody where a gentleman who was taken to custody, arrested, okay, there's this guy saying, I gave the man $200 to fix my car as advance payment, charged me $400. He didn't do it, so I have somebody arrest him, I put it in my car, and took him to jail, to the police station. While in the police station, he, according to the story, hung himself and died. And there were 5 other people in the cell. The place was dark, but when they saw, he was already hanging. So death in the hands of government. Again, it comes to the point as to what is responsible. Is it, and I asked earlier, does the Buckeye government have anything to do with this? Let me start with Victor.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, Dennis, the police are a part of the government, and so if people are dying at the hands of the police, of course, it becomes a responsibility of the government. They have the right to call for an investigation. I'm not necessarily saying that anybody is culpable, but notwithstanding, a human life has been lost, and I think the government has a responsibility to launch an investigation and bring whoever is responsible for this to justice. I don't know if that has been done. I mean, yes, I remember the alleged power theft situation in Caldwell. It has been probably about a month or 2 now. We haven't heard anything. I'm not sure if anything has been made public as to the investigation. The King George situation happened just around about, I think, the same time or so, just probably weeks apart. I am also not certain, what has become of that case. So yes, the government is the employer of the police, and therefore, whatever acts that the police commits is the responsibility of the government.
Thomas, you earlier you said, well, I'm not in the business of comparing government, but to what extent are these incidents reflective on the Buckeyes government?
It can be any government. It will reflect bad on the government. And this is why, regardless of what the government is, they should be able to do everything to avoid these kind of situations. But sometimes there can be accidents. But a responsible state should make sure that when they happen, they should be investigated and there should be actions that are taken. Like I always say, the government of Liberia often allows every crisis to go to waste. In some other countries, when there is a crisis, you will see reforms as a result of an incident so that you avoid it in the future. Let's say, for instance, when the fire disaster happened in Totota, do we know anything that has changed in Liberia as a result of that disaster? Any change to the traffic regulations? Any change to the sector that regulates these tankers that move fuel from one place to the other? No. The disaster that happened in Nimba County, I mean, when many of our citizens were buried. Quite recently, a similar one happened in River Says. Have we seen any regulation change in response to that? No. The fire disaster, somebody spoke about it earlier. Have we seen any change to say, okay, because of these fires that are taking place, this is the regulation around fire, we are going to change it, we are going to do something? It doesn't happen. In some other countries, you see police reform by just an incident. The police will do something, and then there will be this reform that will take place to be able to avoid that crisis in the future. But in Liberia, the police will manhandle people, they'll beat them the next day. Nothing happens. You don't even see them being disrobed. So I think the state needs to investigate these things. Sometimes it will be a response, it will be a reason of, it will be due to administrative inefficiencies. It will be a result of individuals taking actions that they are not allowed to take administratively. So investigate, find who is responsible. What happened in King George? When are we going to see the end to it? If somebody died as a result of bullet, somebody will have fired the bullet. Who gave them the order to be able to fire? But consistently, what we see is that it just gets swept away. And after time, like I said, there will be something else that will come that will just bury it. So if this guy was in the custody of the police and he hung himself, you need to really go down and investigate what happened. This is human loss, a human life. This is a citizen of the country of Liberia who has gone away. We need to get to the bottom of it. If anybody is responsible, we punish the person. That way, we create fear in the other people as to how they do their job.
And Thomas, always there are investigation. Flomo is saying, hey, the police released a statement about individuals that died. I believe they charged 3 police officers. But I think the question has always been, then what?
And then what?
Yeah.
They charge the police officers, what's going to happen?
Yeah. Francis, we have a situation now where, and I'm going to be blunt about it, where the CDC party, right, is like it's on the lookout to blow everything out of proportion and make the government look bad, right? That's how the politics have been. So anything, even if somebody, did not eat in his own house, they say, oh, it's the Buakai government. But in this, so I've listed these things to see, well, sometimes there's a thin line of people blaming everything on government. Actually, government either being complicit or not doing enough. In the case of these 3 deaths that I talk about, what is the liability on the part of the Buakai's government, or is the opposition trying to just make them look bad?
I mean, there will always be politics play when it comes to these things because, campaign time. When they talk about the devil, the 4 auditors, the 3 missing boys, blah, blah, everything was the Weah government. It was placed on the Weah administration because it happened under his watch. So the same thing is going to happen here. But what matters is the outcome, the accountability. Who's held accountable? We are good at announcing investigation with no outcome. You see, but not everything is bad when it comes to investigation. Because it's just you, the government, telling the citizen, this is what happened. This is the outcome of the investigation, and this is what we are going to do. But they will announce investigation, and then they won't come back to the public to say what happened. The incident in Kinjor, people want to politicize it. I mean, you have freedom of speech, but that was a riot. That was a riot. You saw police station burn down that day. A lot happened, but we don't. So, but there still has to be an investigation, even if the shooting was justifiable or not. There's still supposed to be an investigation, and then you come to the citizen and say, okay, this is what happened, and this is what it led to, and this is what we are going to do. But unfortunately, when these things happen, we use words, we investigate, then no outcome. That's why even more frustrating than not even mentioning investigation, because you have to investigate everything. The guy in the prison cell with I don't know how many other people hung himself. I don't care how dark it is. You're not invisible, man, to just hang yourself and nobody see anything. Then you're talking about the NEC power theft situation. You see, our country is so backwards, right? And unfortunately, because there's no the police, the institution, there's no pride. People are not proud to be a police officer in Liberia anymore. So as a result, there's poor training or lack of any training. I'll give you an example. When they opened the how you call it, Unification Park in PHP, there's this kid in Liberia that does prank videos. He pranked the security guard pretending to be urinating on people's car. He had water bottle in front of him. When the police officer came, first of all, sit on the ground, man. I'll fuck you up, sit on the ground, man. Like rebel time, like child stitter rebel time. That's how he was speaking to the boy. What happens to a police officer? You are civil servant. Sir, ma'am, can you come over here? Let's investigate what's going on. But no, strictly NPFL time. Sit on the ground. I will fuck you. What I mean, so you see, so because there is no respect for the police, there's no pride in wanting to be police. So the institution itself is rotting, and then the people in authority do not do their job by making sure the citizens are comfortable by conducting investigation, coming out of outcome, and some kind of reform take place. None of these things happen. So that's the problem. You see, but it will always be politics because one government is out, the next one coming, so everything is on the government. Of course, everything is on the government because, like one of the previous speakers said, you are hired by the government, you are responsible and answerable to the government. So anything that happens will be placed on the government, but it's incumbent on the government to show the citizens that we work for you. You are our bosses. We work for you, and this is what happened, and it will not happen again. This is what we are going to do to prevent these things from happening again. But none of these things occur in Liberia.
Dennis, let me just share something about the motivation that Francis was talking about in the police. So a couple of years ago, I was hired as a national consultant for us to do an evaluation on a project funded under UN Women. And they were basically looking at women in the security sector, how to motivate them to leadership and all of that. And we are going to do interview at the University of Liberia. There's a professor who works, I think he's under the Babangida School of Peace and Conflict Resolution. And he made a point which was very important, that the reason why you hardly see motivation in these forces is that in many instances, people that go to these security sector institutions, that's not their first priority in life. People got 3 or 4 layers of priority. If this work, I will do this. If it doesn't work, I will take priority B, priority C. And so people who end up in either the police or the Liberia Immigration Service, sometimes it is the case that what they really wanted to do because of the circumstances in the country, they couldn't, they weren't successful in pursuing the careers that they want to pursue. And so when they end up in the police or they end up in the LIS, it's already that they are demotivated. Let me just be here because this is what society has forced me to do. So if you want to motivate that kind of person, the motivation is already close to zero. And then you look at what the state is offering them in terms of support, their salaries, in terms of even uniforms that they buy to them, which is in itself demotivating. Then it becomes a serious problem. And as he was speaking to me, I was reflecting on a colleague of who had gone to school with me. And when I returned from school in 2015, she made a point to me that before I got hired in the bank, my last option was if I could not get a job in the next 3 months, I was going to join the police. So you could already see that if she had not gotten hired in the bank, she was going to end up in the police, which is almost like a fallback position. So there's already a lot of demotivation around these forces. And if the state cannot do anything to motivate them, then you will just have a situation where you have demotivated people actually providing security, and like people will just be transferring their anger from one point to the other in terms of how they even deal with citizens. But that issue of motivation is very key in our, not only in the police, across all the security agencies.
Thank you. And that reminds me of when we interview Mr. James Harding, a veteran firefighter in Boston, because like those who go to fire service, I mean, fire service in Liberia, I mean, that is like, it should be at the top, right? But people that are there is like, okay, we don't have anywhere else to put this person, so let's send them to fire service. And so if we have banks, if we have installations like LPRC and all those things, if they burn and we can put the fire off, our economy can go to zero in 1 day because of fire, but we don't even think about that. I think that's the kind of place to dump people. Mr. Freeman.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's one of the things that dogged the Weah administration was Weah was not talking to us, right? Now President Boakai also is not talking. At least they have the excuses people are making, like, or the reason they give me is, well, the ministers are going to MICAT, and then we have the press secretary. But President Boakai, just like Weah, is not talking to us. Is this going to be a problem? Because we're talking about these deaths, and we are not hearing from the president.
Yeah, just before I hit your question, I have a little thing to say on the police case. So I'll come to the question. Let me just address a little bit. The first thing is, it appears like it was a civil dispute, right? From what you explained. It appears like it was a civil dispute. So why is somebody in police custody over a civil dispute? It's part of the problem. Okay? And I don't want to believe this person committed suicide, because the first thing is, before you go in a police cell, they can check you and take everything from you,
They say he used
including
his
your
shirt. They say he used his shirt to hang himself. That's why the people in the cell, the report saying, not the police.
I have my doubts about that.
Yeah.
I also want to say that, for example, they said the cell was that. Why was it that? And so even if he were able to use it, it means there was a dereliction of duties by some police officer. So all these things, and there are so many reasons to investigate, but I don't see it coming out of President Weah, because the Liberian people voted for a man who was at that Senate when 95% of concession deals were passed, and he said nothing. And even up to today, he has said nothing. And he refused to take responsibility for some of the failures of the early regime, because according to him, he was now number one. Now he's number one. He's not taking any action. Even the people who voted for him, all the election violence, people died, people got injured. What has he said? Nothing. Corruption scandal right in his office with his chief of staff. What has he said? Nothing. So I don't believe that Weah has any backbone to do anything, because that is not who he is. And Liberian people just try to make him a leader, but he is not. Okay? For example, every president is under pressure for promotion of jobs. When Weah was under pressure, he set up a committee of senators to make a decision. So right now, what we have is the senators making appointment, and then the senators go and do confirmation, a clear-cut constitutional violation under Weah. What has Weah said? Nothing. So this is a completely incompetent individual that we've put there, because according to the Liberian voting pattern, they say when you have been sitting down for long, or you have been putting your hand up for too long, you should be president. That's the same reason they made John Weah. John Weah was what we call a bobo senator. And people took a job that was 100 times more difficult than being senator and give it to him, because why? They said he'd been running since 2005 and he'd been sitting for long, so that was his time. It's the same thing with Weah. They say Weah been sitting for too long, so it is his time. But I don't see any competence coming out of Weah today, yesterday, tomorrow. I just don't see it. He will continue to be silent on a whole host of issues. I mean, for Christ's sake, right in his office, there is allegation of corruption. What has he said? Nothing. He's not going to say anything, because that has been a long track record of Weah saying nothing, doing nothing, making excuses, and he will continue to make excuses until his 6 years are over.
Thank you. Victor, you wanted to say something, so you can conclude on this.
No, I at first I'm glad that Thomas ended the way he did, and I believe you picked up on that too. I was going to say yes. Even university, or like basically, you don't really, you have an idea of a plan, but no plan is actually fixed. So yes, I do appreciate that. Yeah, people may have 1, 2, 3 alternatives, but I think the responsibility is on us, those of us who will lead the institutions, to mold the employees into the people we want them to be. We have a responsibility to make the place attractive, to motivate people to want to be there, to want to be their best. So yeah, somebody may have come in, just as a byway, to another stop, but we have a responsibility to make that stop so attractive that they will not want to move on to, another stop. In the case of the police and these institutions, yeah, the police, they have a lot of very attractive things that they can do to people to make them want to be a part of them, but the morale, the training, we all here, we know how it is. There is always continuous training, professional development. You can do it from within. You can bring people from outside to come and train your people. But the training is a continuous process, and we always go to these workshops. And I think that's something that they need to emphasize to also in our institutions. They employ you, and that's it. Some of the institutions you don't get, that you don't do. There's no other requirement for any additional testing or qualification. Some of the places every year or two, you go for retraining and you test out, and then you get promoted and stuff like that. But I'm not certain this is what is happening. So yes, I agree with Thomas. The guys, they kind of like sadistic. They kind of, it's a job for most of them. But I think the responsibility is on the leaders. They should make them want to be there and want to be their best. That's the point I was trying to make.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, this is Stop Talking Thursday. If you are not done so already, please share the show and let's talk tough. Go ahead, Thomas.
I mean, I want to make a point on this issue of the president talking. Liberia is a very complex country. I remember where I used to work before, there was this expert that came and he was working on land reform. And he made a point to us that when he was asked to go to Liberia, what he did first was to Google Liberia. And he looked at Liberia, he saw it was so small, a very small country in West Africa. And he said, oh, but this is a very small country. Their population is what? That time we have not even reached 5 million. He said it will be very easy. I think to do work in this kind of country will be very simple. He went, I think around 2013, 2014, they started working on the Land Rights Act to just pass that Land Rights Act through our legislature. It couldn't pass. In the end, the agency said, we no longer need you. We brought you as a consultant to work on land reform, but the government is not passing the Land Rights Act. And therefore, you are no longer needed. You have to go. And he will say how complex this country is. And so if you have a president who really wants to draw this country, to reform the country and move the country forward, you have to move along with the citizens. And the only way you do that is you communicate to them. Part of the problem we face in Liberia is that every time you want to do something that is that the result or the fruit of it is going to bear 2-3 years from now, people tell you, no, don't focus on that. Let's focus on the bread and butter issues. And so we continue to pay attention to the bread and butter issues, and we'll continue to eat bread and butter for the long time because we are not focusing on the things that we do today to bring a long-term benefit.
Thomas, Sarah, may I interject? How does that relate to worker incompetence?
Hold on,
William, I'm just.
How does it relate to worker incompetence?
Yeah, let him finish.
You want to take Danny's position?
That's a question I'm interjecting.
The point I'm making to you is that I agree with you that the president is not speaking. My point is that the president should not be speaking only when it is constitutionally mandated. That you speak to us on the first Monday or the second working Monday in January, and then you come and speak to the country. Every time there is an issue, you need to talk to the people so that they can move along with you. Some of the things that are happening, even the War and Economic Crimes Code, the president needs to come and speak to the country so that we can all go in the same direction. There are some reforms that need to take place in that country. It could be tax. It could be moving the budget to a program budget. The president needs to come and communicate. He's the chief policy officer in the country. He needs to come and drive the citizens with him so that we can move together. So I'm just reinforcing the point that you were making earlier. I'm not using your words. You can decide what words you want to use. My only point is that I'm sending this message to the president. He needs to talk to the country quite often so that we can all move together. Energy, all the other issues that are happening in the country, address us. Tell us what you are doing. Perhaps we need to wait for 1-2 days and we have to fast. We don't have to eat, but tomorrow we'll benefit from it. When you talk to us and we understand what you want to do, then we can drive together as a country. If not, there will just be speculation. And it's going back to what Dennis was saying. Everything that happens, okay, the other person says it's the government. It's the government. But if he's speaking consistently and we know where we are going, then we can be able to drive together as a country.
Right. And that's a mark of leadership, right? If you cannot influence people to follow. I said before, President Bouaka declared his asset, no minister follow him. President Baka did drug tests. Nobody followed him. So why? Francis, even when President Baka is giving a speech like he was addressing, I don't even hear what he's saying. What's going on?
Then that's the most frustrating. I will always say, as now I'm not United Party, but I supported President Baka because anybody I felt was more competent or capable than President Weah. But now that we have President Baka in, it's kind of depressing now to see what's going on. Liberia is a very small country. It's probably like a 1.5 times bigger than the state of Pennsylvania, or probably the size of the state of Tennessee. So and it's already concentrated. The heavy concentration is in Montserrat County, and you are right there. So nothing should miss you. You shouldn't miss anything. You shouldn't miss any opportunity to address the Liberian people. You see, in other countries, the president is calling out the lawmakers because this is a bill, this is selling his budget to the Liberian people, selling his plans to the Liberian people, and going to Capitol Hill or having his advisors go to Capitol Hill on his behalf and lobby to get things moving. But we don't see anything going on. We don't see any push. Every now and then we hear one lawmaker will come and make a big campaign, 2029 campaign statement, this, that, and the other, but nothing coming from the office of the president. You know, in the first few months, the press secretary was actively briefing the press and things like that. But that's not enough. I don't even think there's a big drawback on the amount of press conferences she's had since February. You see, so President Baka, come and speak out. And you can't be okay. When Tabata incident happened, George Weah did not go. He was even shamed over a week. He did not go there. His vice president, Joy Howard, she had to make a pit stop when she was going to dedicate a hand pump in Bond County. She just stopped in Tabata. President Baka went over there. He even visited the people in the hospital. But now you are the president. You have been inaugurated, and the country is on fire. But you have said nothing. But you ran to Fonati Kofa's house the next day when his house caught on fire. You're not talking to the people, so the people will believe anything said about you if you can't speak to them. You don't call speech with the Liberian people, and then we'll have all this chaos going on with his Minister of State and money captain refusing appointees sent to LEC, all these things. So I mean, he's disappointing folks like us that went to back and still defending him when some of the things that he's trying to do. But there's just so much, so far you can push people, and then everybody give up on you. And I hope not, because this is the last bus stop for Liberia. I always tell folks he can be the Nelson Mandela, like Nelson Mandela was to South Africa when he came out of prison, became a one-term president, but he set a solid foundation. South Africa still has corruption, but he set a solid foundation. President Baka, you're in a unique position to bring major change to Liberia because you are not beholden to anybody. We know that 99% you are not going to run in 2029 for re-election. So you don't have to suck up to anybody. You don't need anybody to give you Grand Bassa or give you Nima County or give you Lofa and stuff like that. So put your foot down. He's in a unique position to be a legacy president in Liberia, but he's wasting the opportunity away. It's disappointing.
Sad indeed.
I think I'm sorry, and I think that some of the guys in there, they've realized that this president, he probably has absolutely nothing, no fish to fry in this because he may not be running 2029. And so they're beginning to break ranks. I mean, Delon is making the rounds, Amara Khan is making the rounds. They all, you know. But I agree with both of you. The president, he is the arrowhead of this government. Yes, the press secretary there, all that, and I get that. But this president should be out there articulating this government's message. That's what he should be doing. And it's not that he doesn't get an opportunity. Every now and then he's somewhere breaking ground or doing something. Nobody ever knows what he says there. But yes, he is supposed to be talking to us what he's doing. Every chance he has, he's supposed to communicate to us what his government is doing. I don't understand why, ministers trooping to Minister of Information, and what is that? You already have the press secretary who is telling us what is happening in the nation, and what is it? They're coming to the Minister of Information to tell us what they're doing. but they can't be doing anything separate than what the government is doing. The president is supposed to take the totality of what is happening and engage with us. I quite agree with you, and I don't understand why he's not doing it. I don't know what kind of advice he's getting, whether he's not getting the right advice or he's not taking the advice that's been given to him. But I'm really confused, you know. But yes, he is not engaging with us, and I think it's going to continue to drag them down because we're not left to interpret whatever we want. Nobody's coming to us with what the messaging is. What is this president's messaging? What is the policy? What is he doing? I've seen pictures of yellow machine here and there. What does that mean? It is beginning to initiate the no car stuck in the mud because that's one of his seminar pronouncements. They make a big show of it and call a conference and tell us what you're doing. Even if you're not going to do more than one mile of road, tell us. I promise you in the campaign, no, this and so. Today we're beginning the process, and you give us time. We're going to do such and such, but nothing. We see photos, and that's it. You know?
That's it. And President Walker, if you are listening, we want you to talk.
That is just a point.
Asset discovery, asset declaration.
I just want to make a quick comment. Look, in Labrador, we have a parrot who say when chicken white, a white. For you to really expect something out of this man is not a leader. He is not a leader. And to expect leadership from somebody who is not a leader is not going to happen. So even we come from here 6 months from now, he is not going to be a leader.
I think he got a different style of leadership, Anthony Freeman.
He leading from the back, right?
I love that.
I think he leading from the back.
Yeah, leading from the back is also Nelson Mandela used that.
Okay.
So yeah, you can lead. Is that just?
But you lead from the back if your leading is producing results, tangible, as a result that we can see. Then you can lead. Yeah, you lead from the back, but the job is getting done. The problem we're having is he's not leading from anywhere, whether from the side or from the back or from the top or wherever, because the job is not getting done. That is the problem. I think what we're
after the first 100 days, and even the 100-day deliverable, we don't know where it is for now. But let's go to asset recovery, asset discovery. There's a big show about who leaked President Weah's assets. I mean, so I'm thinking to myself, I thought they were declaring assets for us to know.
No, his asset declaration form.
Yeah. The asset declaration form. Yeah, thanks. Thank you. Like it's being leaked, and his supporters or people in the house, they kind of dying to show that we support this man. Thomas, let me start with you on that. What is the big show about this? What is out of the ordinary of the president asset declaration form getting out there?
You see, every time you have an inefficiency, it does affect you in the long run. We are sitting here to discuss something, to take time to discuss the leaking of President Weah's asset when we shouldn't be discussing this. The first thing is that when you go to the public sector, the code of conduct says that you declare your asset and you publish it, right?
Right.
So the former president decides not to publish his asset. It should have ideally be submitted to the LACC, but he did his declaration to the GAC. The public call for it to be published, it was not published.
No, I'm sorry, Thomas. It's a call for declaration, but not you declare, but it's not a law that you publish.
The current version of the code of conduct calls for publication. I think the code of conduct was amended quite recently when asset declaration and verification, everything was put under the LACC. I think what they say is not clear in the law is that who should publish, whether the individual should publish or it should be the LACC to publish. So my point is, if the president had published his asset on the principle of transparency, then nobody will be leaking it today. We all will have seen it. If you go through the form that he declared, he He got millions of dollars for footwear, for clothes, for all of that. Then the legislature was not going to take time to even investigate who leaked it out to the public because it would have been out. But as long as we decide to be non-transparent, we don't want to be accountable, then we fall into these kind of situations where we are taking our whole national legislature to be able to investigate. Now they had to call the current LACC head, they call the former LACC head, and then they are talking about James Verdier when he was head of LACC at that point in time that he had requested for their asset. It's simply because we don't want to be open. If you run an open government, everything is out there. We're not be in this kind of situation. So to me, it's just, I mean, we just paying for our inefficiencies in our lack of transparency.
And what, I mean, declare, what does this declare mean?
I got a code of conduct open. I don't know if I can read that section.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so I'm reading from section 10.2.
Yeah.
All such declarations shall be accessible to both the public employer and to the general public upon a court order, as well as to the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission and the Generating Auditing Commission for investigative purposes. So it's accessible upon court order, and it's accessible to LACC and to GSC for investigation purposes. So I think it differs from what Thomas has just said.
Right.
I'll find a provision. Yeah, go ahead.
10.2.
I'll find a provision.
Is it a revised one?
Why revised one? There's only one.
Because
there was a regulation issued by the president. It went on for several years. They were updated to a statute. So since they have done the statute, they have not done a revision to the statute.
So what you just read, what does it mean? If you are declaring your asset, you write it on a piece of paper and give it to LACC, that's what declaration means.
Yes.
And for
only a court order can allow them to divulge it. But if GSC comes and say we are investigating, they can give it to GSC. And of course, LACC, if they are investigating, they can take it. But let me go further because I headed a multi-departmental team at the LACC, and we did two investigations, two reports on asset disclosures. During that time, the LACC had exclusive authority over the asset disclosure, and we could take it, we could investigate and do anything with it. And eventually, that's what we did. If you remember, there was a case with Matilda Parker and all of that. If you remember the Matilda Parker case with LACC, okay, so I was heading a multi-department team at the time when we did those disclosures, and we brought in probably up to 100 officials, and we investigated their asset holdings, we investigated their bank accounts, everything. Okay, and we published two reports. I authored the first one, and the second one I worked with them, but I didn't author it at that time I left. I went to South Africa. So what then? I think the political class got unhappy with the level of investigation of the asset disclosures. So they decided they were going to reform the law. And so they reformed it and took some part of it to GSC, took some part of it to the legislature, took some part of it to the, at the end of the day, left nobody in charge of asset disclosure. So nobody could do anything about it. And at some point, this is where we stay at. Because for you to tell me that you will make a disclosure and I need to go to court before I can see it, it's like it's not a law. Okay? Because how many persons is going to waste their time and money to go to court before so and disclose this? But I want to believe the disclosure was unprofessional. If the law says don't disclose it on court order, then you have to follow the law. Okay, but I think it's a bad law. And that is why when Baka talk about rescuing the country, those are some of the things we expected to see in the first 100 days.
Well, let me ask you, Chancellor. Let me ask you don't we have Freedom of Information Act law in existence in Liberia? I mean, it's possible whoever disclosed this may have gone to court and demanded that they be given access to this information. I mean, isn't that possible? Especially so, President.
Well, why are you speculating? I mean, do you have the returns from the court to know that they went to court?
No, but you are also speculating that they didn't go to court. And I'm saying to you, don't
No,
receive
I
that.
read it from the law. The law says that it can be disclosed upon a court order. I was reading from the statute. I
And
wasn't
that's
speculating.
what I'm saying to you. I'm saying to you, whoever published it, don't you think they may have also gone to court
But I think
using the Freedom of Information Act to demand access to this record?
but I don't think that Freedom of Information Act allows you to just go and request something that's just because you want it.
Oh yes.
No,
I don't think
Why-
there's any limitation. That's why you go to court. The
No,
court
you can't go.
determines.
You can't use Freedom of Information Act and request somebody health information.
Why not?
But health information and
what
asset
that means-
disclosure
what
are not
that
the
means
same
is-
thing.
No, health
Why
information
don't
is
you
No, but
valid.
also when it comes to
What
asset
means is
declaration,
irrelevant
right?
to you.
The court said upon what investigation are you undergoing that you need the person's asset declaration form? What investigation? Why are you investigating?
Look, Mr. Nagwa, I think that's the failure of the Liberian civil society.
Uh-huh.
Because the civil society should test the law. They should test the law all the way to the Supreme Court. But if you don't test the law, how will you know if the law work in your favor? I also am very shocked that Mr. Weah, who professes to be some Liberia champion, will be so panicky about his asset being disclosed. I mean, what's the point? Why is he hiding?
And that's
I
exactly it.
very sad. Also, too,
Isn't
when he
it-
left from office, there was no disclosure for all to compare and contrast. Okay, so these people come and they champion that they are inferior to the masses.
Yeah.
They so love the masses, and at the end of the day, they get there and they take everything for themselves and leave the masses desolate. Weah did that, and Bwaka said it was wrong. And Bwaka said it for 6 years that it was wrong. And Bwaka got there, and Bwaka did the identical thing that Weah did. You know, so if you guys are waiting for leadership out of Bwaka, I'm sorry, you're gonna be waiting forever.
I think in the court of public opinion, I think President Weah may end up losing some points on this because what is it that he's fighting to keep his record secret for? What is he hiding? And Councilor, isn't it reasonable when you become a public figure, don't you lose your expectation of privacy? I mean, you become public.
Yeah, but in that case, they are protected by law because the law says you can only disclose upon a court order. So if you're running a law-abiding country, it means you either go to a court and you declare the law unconstitutional, and then you compel it, but you can't leak it. And I don't trust, like, for example, I was at the LSCC, and I sued the LSCC at one point in time when Fredia was there. Fredia has no integrity. I mean, I'm saying it publicly. He has absolutely no integrity. When he was at the LSCC, he was given, there was some funds that were seized. He ate that money, $12,000 US. When I was at the LSCC, also, he received some funding for some former staff, and he ate that money. Unfortunately for him, my money was one of the money that he ate. And I sued them. And we went to court and they lost. I got over $60,000 from that case. I sued them along with others, our staff. So in Liberia, we have to test the law. Test the law. The law says upon a court order, go there and file a case and say you want President Weah asset. What stops you from doing it? Do it. Test it. Go to the Supreme Court and let's see what happens. But we don't have civil society. All they do is rep program, look around for money. When the money comes, they say use it for themselves. You know, so for me, I think if the law says that what it is, we should abide by the law. But it's shameful for Weah to say he's a champion of the poor, he's a champion of the masses.
I don't think Weah has said that, right?
That's what he says. I mean, what other when you import it, you want to take over power. What do you project yourself as?
What does proper mean?
I mean is it Weah that have problem with
help me.
So what I mean is it Weah that have problem with the release, or people that are who want to defend him to look good in his eyes?
But he's been hiding it the whole while.
But I've not heard him saying, "Hey, why you release my form?" But my question here is, even the release, and they are blaming Verdia on it. At a time, Verdia was no longer LACC chair. What sense does that make? Oh, Verdia asked for it, we gave it to him, so he leaked it.
I think they're saying it because Verdia got no integrity.
No, but
so
at the time they say he requested for it. So if
yeah, but when somebody has no integrity, I mean, you can accuse them of anything. It's like somebody who is well known to be a thief in the community. When anything gets missing, you want to blame the thief.
But you are keeping it. You are LACC and you have this. So why give it to someone if you think that person doesn't have integrity?
No, because he was there before and he requested for it. And from what I know, these things are kept under lock and key.
You said why did he request for it?
So it's possible he may have asked for it and they might have locked it.
No, but he wasn't chairman at that time. He wasn't chairman at that time. He asked for it.
No, I don't know if he asked for it when you're not chairman. I want to believe he asked for it when he was chairman.
He was chair.
Yeah, I want to believe that what happened. So when you ask for it, they will lock it. So they track the movement of the disclosure. So probably he's on record, but it could have been anybody in the LSCC. It doesn't have to be. I feel they are accusing him because he's well known in the LSCC as the chairperson with no integrity.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't like him at the LSCC. They feel he tarnished the reputation of the LSCC. I feel he should have been persecuted because he missed what should I say, managed money that came to staff that he should have used for the intended purpose. He mismanaged it. He should have been persecuted criminally, and he absconded. So for me, it's like they're accusing him. A lot of people at LSCC are accusing him because they don't like him generally.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I can't vouch. I can't say that about his character because I don't know.
Yeah, I sue him. I sue him in a court of law, and I won the case. And so I can tell you that he has no integrity.
Yeah, but again, I think my issue with that is that the only thing the LACC has said is that they have a trace through email communication that he requested for it. He requested for the former president, I think Nathaniel Mageo, Jefferson Koji, and Thomas Fowler.
Exactly.
So they've not really established that he was the one that put it out there. The only record that they have. One second.
No. What I want to correct before you go is at a time for Fowler and Vice President, Verdia was no longer chair. Yeah, that's the point I want to make.
No. Verdia was chair when the new government took over. He presided over the LACC through the transition. Right. He was with the LACC under Madam Salih's administration.
So
and then when Weah took over,
Koji, do you think at a time he was still chair?
Yeah, he was still chair. Okay. He was chair under Weah.
Clear to me.
No, he was chair under Weah. Weah took over. I think he spent a couple of months before he left the LACC.
Right.
So I think my point is these are all lawyers. If the only reference that you can trace for now is the email chain where he requested, then we can now conclude that he was the one that put it out there. So I think the investigation needs to go on further.
Thank you. I want us to talk about this briefly before we join our Tabata session. But Francis, you can speak on that and then we can go. If you have anything to say on the release of because to me this law is doesn't make sense to me. That you should declare, and in their wisdom, declaration means sign a piece of paper and give it to LACC that they are declaring. I believe this should be made public. And what is the wisdom in say the only time anybody should know is through a court order? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, the idea behind the whole thing is to stem out corruption. So if you are going to do that, declaring the people should know what you're coming in with. And when you, upon leaving, what you are leaving. So if you first, they are not even keeping up with the law. It says before taking office. So people are still declaring after taking office, months after taking office. And President Barker, who claimed to root out corruption, audit everybody, you would think that okay, even though his administration or his officials have been appointed on a slow pace, but you would think that he would say, okay, I gave you a week after you are confirmed to declare your asset. Put your foot down, show the Liberian people, and this is what we are talking about. Show the Liberian people that you mean business. But at this pace, nobody can trust that upon leaving office, he will even declare his asset. Because You promised, even on Voice of America, I would declare and publish my asset. And now he's just ignoring. But you know, that's the superpower politicians in Liberia have, right? The power of ignoring the Liberian people and things just going away. Because we always chase the next shiny object. Liberian people will soon forget about asset declaration. They will soon forget that President Parker said he was going to publish it, and he will never publish. And then after 6 years, when his term is up, he will never publish. Then how you don't expect the Liberian people to accuse you of stealing? Because even if we know our government officials are paid ridiculous amount of money, so it's possible that people can build the type of houses that they build while they're in government based on their income. But if you don't declare your asset and publish it, nobody knows what's going on. So when you leave and you got 2 big houses or a big old farm, oh, that's the Liberian people money. That's the Liberian people money. So, and you can't blame the Liberian people for accusing you of stealing from them when they didn't know what you came in with and what you are leaving with. So that's the frustrating part. And that law should be changed. It should be declared and published. No ifs and buts about it. It should be declared and published, period. And that's the only way this will work.
Thank you. And if you are declaring and not publishing, nobody knows, especially where we have people who are appointing their own people to the LACC, nobody will ever know. But that takes us to our last topic for tonight, which is the CPP dissolution. And then we have our man, J. Victor Nabe, who's also, a former member of the CPP. He's back to UPP. So, Victor, this is like having a divorce party. What was the point of that?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm muted. Yeah, well, I am not a member of the CPP. I did support the CPP run for the presidency, but I'm a member of the UPP. What is happening is the CPP document expired a few days ago. So what you witnessed was the official recognition and marking the day of the separation of the CPP.
That's why I'm saying a divorce party.
Yeah,
I mean, what's the point?
Yes, but sometimes words can carry meanings not intended. Divorce is never a happy thing, but this is a happy separation. People reach the end of the road, and they've decided they're going to go their separate ways. But if you notice in the gathering there were lots of other parties represented. So I think you witnessed the coming into being of another collaboration. I don't know exactly what it's going to be yet, but there were people from LPP, NPP, CDC. So there were lots of people in the midst who were not initially part of the CPP. So I believe there is pretty soon going to be another collaboration coming into being.
Right. And talking about that collaboration, we conducted a poll today on that. The question is, with the CPP now dissolved, what do you advise Mr. Alexander Cummings to do next?
But Mr. Cummings,
hold on. Let me give you our poll result.
Okay.
41% say Mr. Cummings should form another collaboration with other parties. 26 say stay away from any form of collaboration and stay with your ANC. 25% say don't run for president again, and 8% say join and take over as CDC political leader. What do you think is next for Mr. Cummings, J. Victor?
Well, I don't even know what all this is coming from. This is not the end of the road for Mr. Cummings. This is the end of the road for the CPP. Mr. Cummings came into the CPP as the standard bearer of the ANC. So yeah, he does have a party which is functioning and alive. So I don't understand when they say leave the CPP and therefore go to CDC and stuff like that. No. But yes, I believe Mr. Cummings is going to make a run again. I believe so. How he's going to do that is yet to come into focus. But I know that it has to be through a collaboration. The modern day politics we're all witnessing now it works in your favor if you try to reduce the competition in the field. So by covering to cobbling together various institutions, you increase your base. So we think it's smart and it makes a lot of sense. So I expect that it's going to be another new collaboration that will be forged. It could very well be CPP as well, but with different members or additional members.
Mr. Jabate, do you think Mr. Cummings should even be thinking about any form of collaboration again after what he went through with the CPP? I mean, should he end? Another thing I want to add is he was in a collaboration where the story was, hey, I can't be number 2, right? So is he going to put together another collaboration where he say, well, this collaboration, I need to head it, or let's go to all the processes that failed in the former CPP so that we can determine who the leader is? Should he be thinking about any form of collaboration?
Absolutely not. Mr. Nangbe is just trying to be nice. As a commission, should just try to sit down. I mean, compared to President Barker, he's a young man compared to President Barker, but his track record of running says otherwise. What was it? 2017, he got 5%. 2023, 1%. So he's on a decline. And then Liberian politics is different. It doesn't change. It doesn't change. You either move from one person and say, okay, I'm for the next person, then back to somebody else, or keep moving. But there's nothing he can, in my belief, he cannot rebrand himself by going to another party. And like you said, he doesn't want to be number 2 to anybody. He wants to be number 1. So a lot of people too, Liberal Party is different. A lot of people remember what he did in 2017. He did not show leadership when he said, oh, after he did not make it to the second round, he said people should go and vote for whoever they want to vote for, instead of putting his weight behind a candidate. Then we know we will say, okay, the party decided in 2023, the party decided to go with CDC, but he was on the campaign trail saying that he would support the opposition in the second round. He will support. But as you can see, he was just trying to make himself look like this guy that, oh, I'm for everybody. So he thought he was going to make it to the second round, so it would be easier for all of the other opposition parties to support him. That's why he said that. But after the announcement, it was CDC and Unity Party, what did he do? He fumbled. And he want to blame, he and his supporters want to blame the CPP for saying, oh, the chairman of the CPP supported CDC. But you, Mr. Comey, you could have been a man of the word and saying, okay, the party supported CDC, but I'm supporting the Unity Party like I promised on the campaign trail. So he has no credibility anymore, and he doesn't want to be number 2. So I just think 2029 is going to be even worse if he try to run on any party ticket as a stand-up bearer.
Thank you. Thomas, did the farewell party make any sense to you?
Well, it did, in the sense that if the document was crafted that way, that was a collaboration for the 2023 elections, then of course it made sense that when it ended, until you develop a new document, then that arrangement was null and void. So even if they had not had that occasion, if that's what the document said, then it was already a reality.
I don't think the document called for a formal program to dissolve. I don't know. You don't quote me on that.
Yeah, but I mean, it was just to formalize what, if it is in the document, then you can just have a program. It's almost like you graduate from school. Whether you have a graduation program or not, they've already given you your degree. You are a graduate. So I think the other thing to it is that maybe they had a program to be able to see how they could start discussion around further collaboration. Because the issue that was an irony to me was that you meet to dissolve a collaboration, but all of the statements were made in connection to collaborating further. So it was like, if this was done specifically in the document, then why didn't you just build on it rather than let it go first before you start talking about it, because it was a program where you had the outgoing government, the CDC was represented, Councillor Gongolo was there, all of them were there, which was showing kind of an opposition sympathy with each other. Okay, these people are formally divorcing today. They are no longer going to be married, but yet we are relatives today. We have to be part of this divorce. So I think eventually they will figure out how they need to collaborate, but that will most likely depend on the performance of the current government. That will determine how quickly the opposition will come together to unite. On the issue of Mr. Cummings himself, I think Mr. Cummings' couple of years in the Liberian politics now will learn lessons from what he had gone through previously. I think often politicians will say when we get there, we cross the bridge. For him, he came with getting to the bridge even before he came to the discourse with saying how he will cross the bridge before getting there. He will make a statement and he will always think that I'm going to stand by it. Also, I think the point I always said is that that corporate approach to politics, and Munafahai and other people said it after the election, that Mr. Cummings spent more meetings in the conference room than actually being out there on the field. So there are a couple of lessons that he has learned. Whether he will go into a collaboration or he will continue to stand by himself, I think it's becoming a bit more difficult for a political party to win election in Liberia outside collaboration. But I think there's sufficient lesson that he has learned. I think the people did not buy the corporate product. He has to see how he can maybe talk to Coca-Cola to see how he can blend with other chemicals that they have to be able to market himself a little bit better. But I think he has learned sufficient lesson to let inform himself as to how he can move forward going further.
I think quite to the contrary. Quite to the contrary. In recent past, over the past 20 years or so, Thomas, no institution has gone solo and won the election. It has always been through collaboration, whether it be the CDC collaboration or the United Party collaboration. So yes, collaboration is the way.
No collaboration of 3 to 6 years have worked. The collaboration they did will be like few months to the election, right?
No, I mean the CDC and the NPP collaboration lasted for years. I think it lasted more than 6 months prior to the elections. I don't think it was less than 6 months. But the point is, yes, mistakes have been made. I believe we all learn from our mistakes. But look, the history of our elections are such that it is very difficult for you to come on the scene within the first 2 election cycles and win the presidency. President Weah, he tried 3 times or whatever. Waka tried over and over. So yes, Cummings has tried twice, and it's understandable. But yeah, this is lesson learned. I disagree with Mr. Tabata with all the assertion that Cummings said he was supporting this. Of course, Mr. Cummings did not support. He went out and voted for one of the 2 candidates. There were only 2 candidates in the race. He went out and voted. He told the CPP, "Yeah, you're free to go and support whomever you want to support." Contrary to 1917.
He voted, but he didn't publicly support anyone that we know of.
No, he did not publicly declare, but yeah, the institution as an institution, they won people supported both candidates. So yeah, so that was an improvement from 2017 when a lot of us felt he should have also supported someone in 2017. But we'll see.
One second, if our in Liberia will file a freedom of information request to NEC to really see who Mr. Cummings voted for in the second round.
Then go to court. You have to go to court.
I think you can do it from here because we have dual citizenship. Anthony Konyen, part of the lesson learned, could that be celebrity marriages don't last? So
okay.
Collaboration.
Look, let me tell you something.
Well, you have to bear with me. I'm not accustomed to speaking politically. So I'm a very blunt person. So being blunt, I will tell you, Cummings has a role to play in Liberian politics. I think he's a smart business person, but I don't see him as a politician. He has had 2 tries. When Cummings speaks, I'm not even moved. And Cummings doesn't have a way of really connecting with the ordinary people. So his election, while it is true his coalition partners caused problems for him, Costa was a bad news for him. with the aid of Waka and other people. But I think Cummings connecting with the average citizen is difficult for him. So I'm doubtful if, even if he were to try again, whether he would make it. But he can play a very vital role because he's a stakeholder. He has, constituency that can bring to bear. I also don't believe in his, I believe in mergers. Like, people should merge the parties as opposed to coalition, because to be repeating one thing over and over is not working. You keep repeating it. Every time they go into coalition, there is confusion, there is fraction, they break apart. So if people want to come together and stay together, just do a merger. And I believe a merger will be a better way to go, because the coalition thing attempt to crown people. That how Waka went in the coalition wanting to be crowned. And when he was not crowned, he broke away. So people should merge the parties so that they can have like a primary and other things like that. But as for the dissolution, when you forge a document and it has to end, it ends. But I believe that they have a vital role to play. Like right now, Waka is blundering. And for me personally, I see no likelihood of Waka doing anything better in our country over the next several years. So if they can merge their activities and come up with like a one party, it doesn't have to be like, I think one of the major players, Cummings can play a role. I think Conglo has to play a role. Other people can come together, merge their parties, and try to speak with one voice. But as for Cummings as a candidate, I have my doubts about his political skills. I think he's lacking some political skills that will make it very difficult for him to cross over to general appeal.
So that is the work of the handlers, right?
I think he has learned. Let me announce that this is Tough Talking Thursday. If you want to join the conversation, call 605-313-6004. The code is 791-403#. While our callers are coming in, I want us to go to our Tabata session of the week. Every week there's some Tabata happening somewhere. Tabata in Southeastern language mean, or the Kru speaking language mean foolishness. Mr. Jabata, this is your first time. What foolishness have you seen during the week? What's your Tabata of the week?
Oh, man.
All right. This is your first time on Tough Talking.
Yeah,
so let's
first time. I was not expecting this. So
yeah. Let's skip you and go to J. Victor. Victor, what's your Tabata of the week?
My Tabata of the week is this president is he's starting to get petty. Everyone who voices opposition, who voices opposition to Yeke, he right away goes out to reward him. He met with Bakana Baby, your favorite girl, and now he has appointed Mr. Ba, apparently the man who is purportedly may have been the one who took the picture with Yeke and the lady. I think he's now special envoy on investment. So all I need to do is get on Broad Street and cuss out Yeke and shout Baka to the top of my head, and then boom, I get a job in government. I don't understand that. I think he really needs to grow up and knock it off. That's my Tabata of the week.
Thomas, what's your Tabata of the week?
Not too many crazy things are happening these days, so I think I will pass.
I think I have only one item, but it's a triple Tabata. Triple. The legislature announced investigation into Yeke. Now, why is it a Tabata? Because there's an allegation of bribery. Then there's an allegation of insult. The legislator leave the allegation of bribery that comes simultaneously with the insult, and they decide they will investigate the insult. Now, insult and bribery, which one affects Liberia more? And these are people that will pay up to $10,000 per month.
Ridiculous.
They see bribery allegation, they see insult allegation, they say, oh, insult is too bad, we will investigate the insult. But the bribery that led to the insult, no, we're not investigating. I mean, what are we thinking of? Is there a country?
when they didn't even try to investigate his threat to the president's life.
They have not investigated the bribery at all. But they want to investigate the insult. Insult and bribery, which one affect the country more? That's why I say it's a triple tabata. So I don't even know why they get paid at the national legislature, because this is an incomplete. I don't even know how to describe it. Maybe tabata times tabata times tabata.
Mr. Jabata, what's your Tabata? I think you're on board now.
No, I mean, it's just everything the attorney said, and the legislature is a joke. I mean, maybe the Tabata, no, it's not this week, but I still put Tabata Aaron Snow for his so-called self-righteous fiery speech he made about 2 weeks ago. So I will drag that Tabata to this week. You know, nothing he's done for the Liberian people, but he wanted to accuse the U.S. of doing nothing for Liberia. So I think he's pretty much the Tabata of the month for me.
Yeah, I think I can add a dimension to that also now that I have thought a bit.
Right, I knew that was coming.
You know, we pay these people a lot of money, and the legislature is to help us solve problem, right? So Senator Snow signs the resolution moves forward, and then he gets out in the press to provide all the justification why it's not possible to establish the court. There's something in the Constitution that says when we establish a court, it has to be within the geographic boundary of Liberia. There's something in the Constitution that says that no court can be above the Supreme Court, but that's why we are paying you, to find a solution. So you don't come to us with all of the problems and you're listed in our face. Then why are we paying you? So why did you even sign the resolution when there was no way to establish the court? So to me,
on top of all of that, you say he's not paid enough.
He's not paying enough. They have to pay him more money. So we pay you more money for coming back to us to say this is not possible after we have already increased your salary. So to me, it was just too. I couldn't even just listen to him. I just turned everything down and say it's better I go and do something else.
My Tabata of the week is the press conference of the fire chief, who it appears to me that he just Googled something. I mean, we talk about houses burning. He's showing us how to use fire extinguisher. He's telling us the classes of fire, class C, class B. And he's giving us statistics, how many people die and what class of fire it was. I don't know if he thought that he was, on the job. He was reading some manual. That was complete Tabata for me. Fixed Electronics say, my Tabata is Francis trying to justify the bribery to protect the JNB administration.
How am I justifying? What did I say here about that?
Well, that's somebody's Tabata.
Hey, I will take it. Fixed Electronics.
Welcome to the show, my brother.
Sam Wallace said, my Tabata of the week was the press conference to dissolve the CPP, where some leaders declared that the CPP really won the election despite their 1% showing. Sounded way too familiar. Well, let me bring in some callers here. They're already waiting in the wings, so we can quickly do this within the next 6 minutes. Our first caller is Flomo Livingston. Go ahead, Flomo, you're live.
Yeah, great show, Mr. John. For me, I just have one few questions. The attorney on the show, putting all some information about the fact. He calling us more they are corrupt, but he can't get no evidence. And no court in Liberia has proven those people corrupt, but he said they are corrupt. So I think for me it's fraud. And accusing someone of violating election, just say they are corrupt. But he took someone to court and he wanted to admit it wasn't corrupt. But no court, he can't show up, he can't provide no evidence to show the corruption they have participated in. Look, when it comes to the JNP administration, look, you know me, Mr. I support the administration. I'm not saying they are perfect, but what he's doing is better than what Joey did in the last 6 years. So when it comes to the appointments and other things, yeah, I do have a little bit of frustration that at least the president should at least address the nation, at least come and answer a few questions. I'll be happy if he can do that. And one of the things I think that the thing that happened I get the DMV administration, the credit is the information. Information ministry is Federal ministry wanted to talk about that ministry. That's very important. We didn't see that in previous administration or even in during edit time, we didn't see that. The press secretary, we didn't see that in previous administration. So I think it's a good thing. Yeah, once in a while, I think the president should address the nation, but I don't think every day we should do it. Even the great United States, President Biden don't go on live video all the time addressing the nation. But at least it should be able to do that once in a while. When it comes to the murder of Mr. John, that individual that died in police custody, the police gave a statement. I believe they believe that it happened. So it's like with the justice system to go through and either convict them or not, we can't hold the president responsible. So we need to follow institution. We can't put everything on the president. And we want good things, but we won't put everything on the president. That's what we have institution. We have their ministry. The president appoints those guys to do the job. You don't expect the president to go at their ministry telling them how to do their job. We should be holding those individuals responsible who are appointed to that ministry to do their job. Thank you.
Thank you, Flomo. We got one more caller, but before that, let me break in Sekou. My Tabata is the EPS on the streets today. And Esther Clark Frederick, the whole government is a big Tabata. Let me take my next caller here. That's Elvis Morris. Elvis, what's your middle name?
I'll tell you, Mr. Jam, my middle name.
Fresh caller.
Look, let me just tell my Tabata. Hello to you and the panelists. My Tabata is President Boyka projection when he's speaking. It might be our Tabata for his whole presidency. Those people need to get more amplified for the president so we can hear him when he's speaking. He doesn't project. And again, it's not his fault. I'm sure maybe when he was younger, he had more vigor. But right now, at his advanced age, it's hard for us to hear him when he's speaking, even on microphones. But let me get to my talking points quick. Look, the situation with the lady, with that case, the lawyers on the platform, I think he said it earlier, and I said it in the comments, I think they're overcharging. I think attempted murder without a weapon that they can prove that his fingerprint, in murder, they will do fingerprints, they will do DNA, forensics, and all kind of different things. Maybe we don't have the capabilities, or it's not widespread in our country. So charging for attempted murder without the quote unquote weapon that was used to try to cut her throat with the blood or his fingerprint on it is difficult. But clearly, he assaulted her. She can narrate what happened, and the judge can find it. But again, if lawyers don't know what they're doing, if the law is not on your side, you argue the process. This whole case seemed like it was on a technicality, that not enough evidence for the magnitude of the charge that was being charged against the man. So the lawyer should have done a better job getting better, more convincing evidence. Right. And then secondly, the guy that died in the cell, I can't blame the president for it. If you will watch that movie, the Minority Report, where you can kind of see who will commit crime in the future, and then you arrest them before they commit a crime. I don't expect any government to do that. There's ways to prevent, crime and limit it, but there will always be crime. Murders and other things will always happen. But what will separate this Boyka government is how he deals with it. The investigation, how we have dealt with. Yes, how we have dealt with these things, and the way he would deal with it and bring a logical conclusion with, to this, would different, show some difference between him and President Weah. And then lastly, President Weah asset being quote unquote elite. Look, I don't believe it. I think the law should be asset declaration and verification. Joe, we are going to say you get 99 Gucci shoes that worth 150,000. Who's to verify that you actually have 99 Gucci shoes that worth 150,000? People say you have millions worth in clothing. How can you even verify? So if nobody verifies that, that's a way to also launder money. So verification is also a key component. Should be a key component in this whole thing with the asset declaration. But again, President Boyka, I told people this many times. I've got 6 years to be wasting my time and being boisterous and criticizing this man. My life in America was not affected by Weah presidency. It's not going to really be affected by Boyka's presidency. So election got some of us excited and was more, zealful. But now we've come back to our level head. Our level head. We're not going to be criticizing. But I would give a free advice to the Liberian people. Boyka is who he's been throughout his life. He's not an exciting person. He's not a person that's going to come and tell you what his bigger plans is. Like Thomas was saying, you have to bring the people on board. Even his war crime, you have to tell the people why it's important for the nation as a whole. And what it means to us as a people, why it's important that we establish it. Come and talk to the people. Let it follow behind you and know why you're doing it and the reason why it will be helpful to us. Same thing with all the other policies that he wants to put in place. He's not doing it. So he's not going to change overnight. He hasn't done it for the last, 7, 8, 9 years of his life. He's not going to do it in the next 6 years if God bless him to live that long. So for me, this is who we got. This is what we wanted. We have him now. We just have to bear his leadership style and whatever result he give us, be happy for it and move on to the next president come 2029. Thank you for taking my call. I'll leave it there.
Thank you. Does anyone know if they appointed the Sino superintendent already?
Let me check. 1 second.
Okay.
I'm sure somebody been taking your job.
I can't believe that I can't even get that job. This
whole thing, this will change the whole thing. Folks will be electing as superintendent and mayors. That's the only way there will be true check and balance when it comes to government. But appointing yes men, yes women, it's terrible.
Flomo Livingston said, Tabata is people expect the government to turn Liberia into New York in 3 months. That's the difference. That's the difference 6 years can make. We were expected to turn Liberia into Dubai in 6 years. Now, I shouldn't be doing it. But gentlemen, thank you so much for tonight. At this time, and I know Tama is digging into that because I really want to know.
I don't see Sino. I see Grand Cape Mount. I see Bomi. I see Grand Crew. I see. No, I think your position. No. If your CV is there, you can still be hopeful.
Right, because I saw in a very district chat room that they had superintendent, and I've been searching. So now, but if they take me, they're going to be having both a superintendent and Sino high school math teacher. So they will have 2 in 1, and I will teach at Sino High for free. All right, gentlemen, thank you. Let's go around the room for your closing, and let's start with Francis.
Yeah, thanks guys for being here. And Dennis, I put out a challenge because of this whole fire situation in Liberia. The incident with the baby that got burned and passed away the next day. So I suspended one of my giveaway shows and decided to put out the challenge for all platforms like this, big or small, called Operation We Are Firefighters or hashtag We Are Firefighters. My goal is to raise money or collect as many smoke alarms that I can possibly get my hands on, and fire extinguisher, fire suppression, whatever the case may be, and send to Liberia to distribute to our folks. So the challenge I put out there for every platform to hopefully take that up, and within the next few months, if we can all send smoke alarm, it will not prevent fire, but it will give our folks a fighting chance, because a lot of the time these fires occur at night and people are sleeping. And before they are aware of the fire, it's already too late. The exits are blocked. But hopefully, these smoke alarms will notify them with enough time to escape with their lives before the fire gets out of control. So that's what I'm doing. I hope everybody will take it on. Hashtag We Are Firefighters. If you are interested, be a part of it. You can reach out to me on Facebook. My name is on there. But this is serious and it's non-political. As we see, CDC Speaker has got burned, and everybody getting burned in Liberia. So let's try to help our folks in Liberia. Thank you.
Thank you. You're closing on the show. 30 seconds. Mr. Jabate, continue with your closing. I know you were making a pitch for that, and it's a good initiative. Let's talk off camera.
Okay, yeah.
Mr. Kane, your closing.
Well, a very good show. On the issue of the Luca case, I mean, if the point was, the councillor said, even if he was not guilty of an attempt to murder her, maybe he could have been charged with lower cases. I mean, like Evis was saying, if he was overcharged, again, then that goes to our justice ministry, the state that was representing the victim. Why did they set up the case in a way that we were going to lose it? This is not a good reflection on our justice ministry, and especially considering the fact that this is a new team that is there. They are trying to build confidence with the public, with the citizens. I think they should be able to do on better. On the issue of President Weah's asset declaration, I mean, I think he just got himself in this position that it became difficult for him, because if you play football before, I mean, you are this millionaire, like you were saying, I think the best thing you should have done was to really put that asset out. And he could erase all of this issue. Even when he built his 49 condominiums, people were asking, where did he take the money from? If he had published his asset and pull it out in the public, there wouldn't be any question about that. And today we could not be having a legislative session on who leaked it. He would have been the one to actually pull it out in the public. On the CPP, like I said, I mean, this is something that came to an end. There will be political marriages that will move forward. I think the reason why political parties normally easily cannot do mergers, but they decide to do collaboration, is that political parties are almost like business entities in Liberia. They go through any electoral cycle, they get appointments from there and all of that. So for them to merge in some instances is difficult. So where Mr. Cummings goes from here is something that I'm waiting to actually see. On the issue of the guy who died in prison, I think the government should investigate anybody that is linked with it. If there was some negligence on the part of those who were taking care of this, they should be punished. The state should be effective in such a way that anytime there is a problem, investigate. If anybody is culpable, punish them, give confidence to the citizen. And on the issue of the president communicating to the people, I think he should do that quite often, even considering the fact that his electoral victory was a little margin. The more you communicate with the people, you drive them along with your vision. In the end, you drive the entire country, regardless of who voted for you or who never voted for you. So good show. Looking forward to the next one. Thank you.
Thank you. Anthony Konyere, Freeman.
Okay, thank you very much. Always excited to be on FOL, my favorite show, nonstop. So briefly, with the Lucas case, we've lost the case and we lost the criminal case. But I think there is so much evidence there that I think the family should pursue a civil case against Lucas. As a matter of fact, that girl got injured. She needs, to be resuscitated. And I believe that Lucas will not escape a civil trial because the threshold for evidence is much lower. The mere fact that he took her there, he tried to injure her before, he gave her drugs, and he was present when all of this happened to her, he will not escape a civil liability for what happened. With the death in government custody, the Bwaka people came and said Joe Weah wasn't doing anything good. There were 3 missing parts, there were auditors, blah, blah, blah. And they said Bwaka was going to do miracle because he had 50 years experience. And Bwaka said raised the ante because he said Ellen Sirleaf squandered opportunity and he was coming to correct the opportunity that she squandered. I didn't believe that somebody could be worse than Weah until Bwaka got to power. I started realizing, yes, it's possible that you can have a president that is worse than Weah. And that's what Bwaka is shaping up to be. Those who are expecting competence out of Bwaka will be, well, Bob Marley said, waiting in vain. Because I don't see any competence coming out of Bwaka. He has not been a leader from time in time on. He's never been a leader. On the asset disclosure, I don't think people should go violating the law. I think it's wrong. If the law says court order, I think the civil society should test it. They should go to court and try to get it. But as for President Weah, I mean, this is the champion of pro-poor. So if pro-poor asset is disclosed to the poor, why is he, how does it hurt him? I don't see it to be a problem, but I know it's a problem because firstly, he was not even a millionaire when he became president. Secondly, he stole so much money and he's afraid for it to get out because when people start to compare what he acquired over the course of his presidency with what he had before going in, we know how much he actually stole from Liberia. So that is his basic concern, And overall, what I want the Liberian people to know is that, look, they have to push their government to deliver for them. The government made promises, you have to keep holding them accountable. But I see this government, there's a lot of incompetence, there's a lot of violation of law, and I think it's going to go down in history. It's not going to work very well because they will be terribly disappointed. So I'll stop there.
Thank you. And Francis, you said you don't need fire alarm, we need prayer. So start organizing fasting prayer.
See,
Yeah,
like,
make sure you're
people-
closing.
Yeah, thank you, Dennis. Thank you, guys. Great show. Before I forget, let me thank Mr. Wallow because I see he's writing in the in the comment section there. On last Sunday show, he kept on suggesting that we watch a certain clip, and he put a link in the comment section, and I did go out and watch that clip. I think I must have watched it 2 or 3 other times. So I want to thank him. I was unaware of it, but he was right. It is really very educational, and it kind of summarizes basically what the struggle was all about prior to 1980. So I want to thank you for that. I am concerned, Dennis, about the future of the Asset Recovery and Retrieval Commission. A number of us thought it was a great move on the part of this government. The Asset Recovery Program, the work, and the 2 crime courts, War and Economic Crimes Court. But the way the asset recovery process is going now is giving us cause for worry. The recovery program came out with this ill-fitted, ill-thought-out attempt to arrest taxi cabs. They got rebuffed, and ever since then, we haven't heard anything. I'm really hoping that they have gone back to reassess their approaches or their tactics and come back. We want them to help us retrieve the billions of the Liberian resources that people have taken away and they got stacked up in various banks. Taxi cab, I'm not sure that's the priority. So I worry about that. And if this is how the asset recovery program is going, then I am beginning to wonder how the war crimes and economic crimes court is going to go as well. So these institutions, we really think they brought a lot of credibility to at least what this government is doing. But now we're beginning to worry as to what is going to become of them. We talk about the president not communicating with people. Maybe the executive mansion, they probably need to launch a website and take suggestions. I know when the Obama government came in, they had a website running an issue that matters to you. You put on a website, if it generates 100,000 signatures, I think it was 100 or 300,000, they put it on the president's agenda. So maybe they can do something like that, and get to hear and feel what the people are thinking, put up a website and interact with the people. But 3 months are almost in, we're waiting and watching, but the patience beginning to run out. But we're still hoping and praying for this government to deliver us. I mean, all accounts, I think they're still better than what we had did to us for the past 6 years. Absolutely. But we really just kind of disappointed because we think they are capable and they know better, and yet they are not. They're choosing to be lazy, and revert to the same old tactics.
Is we are the standard now?
City mails and all of that. So but we're still hopeful anyway. But thanks again for the show.
There was a question from Dennis.
What was that?
It says we are the standard now. Is that our new standard?
No, it is not. Actually, since you brought out, let me quickly say that Thomas keeps saying that the CPP document is just supposed to expire. Strategic.
You say you don't CPP and you keep going back to UPP. Yeah, you UPP now. So talk about UPP.
Strategic.
I want to thank you guys for
hold on, there is just a second. Strategically, politicians they take on every situation such as this is now. opportunity. That should tell you what Cummings is thinking for 2029. But thank you.
Thank you. And I want to thank you guys for tonight. I want to thank our viewers. Always watch Focus on Liberia, where we educate, we elevate, and promote all things Liberia. Tune in tomorrow, 8 o'clock for Friday night debate. You're going to see fire. On that note, we close with our song that says, "We are all Liberians." Have a good night, and God bless you.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Liberia.